Hello. This is welcome. Sorry, welcome to this online summit on the topic of conscious sexuality, the truth of the matter. My name is Orla Quinn, and I am the host for this Triskel Heart Summit. And I am delighted to be joined by Macha Shewolf today. So welcome, Macha.
Hello.
So what can I tell you about Macha? Well, Macha is many, many things. I've known her for a little while, and she's a very colorful character, but she also is she's very serious about what she does. And first and foremost, Macha describes herself as a medicine woman. As an intuitive healer, as a, how do you call it, a Dakini, a public figure, Macha. So do you want to talk to that a little bit, like maybe describe a little bit about what that means? I mean, maybe people haven't heard of Dakini, a Dakini. So maybe if you want to just start there.
Yeah, so Dakini is quite a big topic, and I know we have really short time, so we definitely won't kind of delve into it. And I'm definitely learning even what the Dakini is, kind of an experiencing aspect of what a Dakini is, and there's like it kind of derives from a more ancient text of like Tibetan literature of like an energy that you'd hear of something maybe like Kali or Saint Mary, like kind of an archetypal like Queen of Tara energy. And I suppose nowadays the word Dakini has been kind of brought into, you hear it a lot in the sexuality world, like if it's a Dakini, it is a person that might have sex with someone else. So there's a huge aspect of this kind of more of an archetypal creature, and then this label that somehow got attached to having sex with someone. And for me, I suppose working with this energy, because I would see it as more of an energy, because it's the Dakini and the Daka, which is the Daka's most male female kind of aspect. We would have, yeah, it's like it's just a really beautiful essence, I suppose, and it's also really powerful. And yeah, I suppose like I find it nearly hard to describe because it's more of a feeling, and I suppose it kind of like if you read it in text, it makes a bit more clarity around it. For me, when I start going into it, it's a bit like how do I explain in words that feeling, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, because it's like an essence.
Yeah.
How do you put words to an essence? Because it's energy, it flows, you can't really contain it.
Yeah, something like this. And maybe I mightn't resonate with this energy in the future, but it's I suppose something that when I work with sexual energy, I find it's very present for me. And I didn't know about the word Dakini until later on, but when I actually read up on it, it really resonated with like what I represent or what I do. Yeah, so this is probably also I like changing how people perceive Dakini, because it's been lost a little bit. It's a bit like people just think it's some sex related thing, and it's way more than that. So yeah, kind of educating people along the way too with representing it.
Yeah, and tell me how you embody that a bit more, because I know that you embody that very feminine essence as well in your work, and in your beingness, Macha. So maybe tell us a little bit more about your work. How what do you do? What are the different faces of Macha?
So I have many faces, and that's where I have to try and be a little bit pinpointy now to focus more with the sexuality aspect. But the sexuality aspect has been part of me really since really prominent and conscious of it since I was like a young teenager, and in a different way than other people. I always noticed it was something different. So then I went into a lot of different healing work, and I do a lot of different modalities. And I might not talk about sexuality within them because, you know, that person maybe isn't ready or it's not the topic. But in the end of everything, we are like a vital source of life. And that is what sexuality energy is as such. It's quite a big topic in itself. And I feel like if I can help people come back to their true essence and their true sexuality and their true person, and connect to the divine essence of that sexuality. And I suppose it's more of an energy when I talk about sexuality rather than just being male or female. And like, yes, we're maybe touching in on Kundalini energy or an energy more than even sexuality, and having a real consciousness with that. This is what I feel people can live from and be sustainable and responsible for themselves. And so all my different work, which is in between body work, shamanic work, herbalism, movement work, I kind of I do everything because I really love how I think and know that like each person that comes to me can does something very different. And one of the topics that I represented for this summit was the voice of the sexual. I can't remember exactly what we called it. The voice of sexual self, possibly, and
sexual soul.
Yeah, and this is something I've been working with quite a long time as well, is voice work. And so, you know, if you hear someone saying the voice of sexual soul, that could mean a lot of different things. It might not actually be representing anything to do with the voice, but hopefully it could be just the representing of allowing the sexuality to have a voice and have an expression and have a representation, and something that we are hugely suppressed in our whole world today. Maybe I shouldn't say the whole world because I can't speak for all of them, but definitely where I live and in Europe and whatnot. And that's, you know, that's a worldwide known thing. And so when I talk about the voice, I am talking about any type of voice of expression. But in this one, I noticed when I've gone to workshops or working with other people or conversation with them, even if they're professional or not professional, that voice in sexual work is kind of very challenging for people. It's another like level. They might feel the energy, they might be experiencing consciousness, they might have mindfulness, but actually letting their voice completely expand and open and be very primal. And I think this is like, for me, my sexual work is very primal, it's very intuitive. It's like you can of course learn many things, but you know, once you get past a point, it just becomes back into second nature, and that's where I want people to be. And so yeah, the voice of the sexual soul is something that I've experienced a lot for myself, and I found, wow, it was even challenging in my world I'm living in, because actually I was like, wow, it really affects us in location, in with your partner. They're not ready for that. And so that was just a huge one I'm quite passionate about. And yeah, I'm noticing there's not a lot of it in the world even to be offered. So yeah.
Yeah, and can I ask, Macha, what, like, connect with me the importance of that voice, right? The voice of the soul and the sexual awakening, right? Just make that connection more strongly, because I think people need to really hear this.
Yeah, so I'll bring it back to something like maybe a bit step outside of sexual and just being like just voice work. So I work with people with voice work, and I've been running workshops for quite a long time. And it's a huge suppression, this area of us, our throat chakra. And our throat chakra is closed because it's been shut down, so much so that we haven't been then able to express our heart chakra. And then of course underneath that is our solar plexus, and then we have our sacral chakra, and then we have our root chakra. So if we don't have a voice here to allow anything to come up, how are we ever going to connect with our third eye and our crown chakra, you know, our conscious being? So for me, this is like a place where we really have one, sound has vibration, so it opens all the chakras, and many people in Tantra work will understand that. And then we have the aspect of like connecting with something very ancient. So for me, with the voice work, it's something very ancient and something very, it's definitely, I think the word would be scary for people, because it's something beyond themselves that they can allow to come out on a vocal level that can be heard by other people. So it's a huge witnessing as well. And this then, it's like liberation, there's like letting go, there's like voices of the past coming up. And so by connecting with this, which by the way, for some person, it could be just literally starting at the edge of their throat, you know, and can be really impactful. And if you bring that into sexual work, it's like, wow, like, you know, most people can't even talk to their partner about sex, not alone express their voice during sex. So like, you know, this is really come back to trust and communication, which is another one we have in there. So it's like, you know, it's like chicken and egg. They all like, you know, each one definitely whatever way. So whatever way someone kind of wants to approach it. But some people come to me and they're just like, hey, I need to, this is the area, you know, and or I know it's something that they need to get into. Yeah, so I get really excited about talking about that.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's such an important, like, it's such an important association, and not everybody makes that connection between voice, right, and sexuality. And how important they, and how interconnected they are, especially I suppose with women that need to express the voice, not only in communicating needs, but also in that primal voice that you're talking about, like that kind of instinctual, like it's almost a womb voice. Would you agree? Like it's deep.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Like if someone can get to that point, because it can take time. So I kind of want to say that in this interview, just in case someone's like, what, I can never, what, woman voice. Whereas it is obviously, it takes time to connect with those layers, and it depends on how many layers and shields they have in this. But yeah, like to connect and have, allowing that the voice of the womb, and I suppose bringing back to something about what you said about the Dakini, or asked me about the Dakini. I channel a lot with music and with voice work, and people have been around me, and what will happen is my body will go into a real trance state, and there'll just streams of tears will come down my eyes, and it's like, you know, my whole body is having some orgasmic experience, but we're not in a sexual context at all. And this would be the Dakini energy that would flow through me in this moment, and it's 100% not me and 100% me at the same time. And this is something that, you know, you can't just achieve it tomorrow, and sometimes you can. But and yeah, and I think that's, so that's an area that I feel like, wow, you know, people in the sexual area, and for their partners to, yeah, because if their partners aren't ready to receive that, because it's huge healing for the world, you know. But if someone can voice that to a deep level, it's healing, you're healing for the world, not yourself. You know, you're healing for the vibration of the planet, and there's a voice coming beyond yourself. um yeah, and I think this is where my work is really driven into. It's very shamanic, and it's very deep work, you know, for sure. And that's yeah, it's in a bit of an area that's challenging in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's wonderful to hear that, you know, that it can be experienced, right? And it, you know, to hear you talk about that trance state of being in that place of ecstasy in in a very open way, where you're connected to a higher consciousness. It's not, you know, it's not kind of the usual state of ecstasy that people are familiar with, right? Most people are familiar with that in the genital regions. So can you talk a little bit more about that spiritual sexuality, like how you experience that feminine essence? And yeah, just because some people might not be aware of this, so really just putting voice to that.
Yeah. You know, I really, you know, it's like, it's really quite interesting, because there's so many layers of it, and it's hard to kind of try to share it in a way that, you know, the outside that's never experienced that would understand and not and you know, receive it the right way. I think that's what's always kind of challenging in this, and because we can receive things in so many different ways and so many levels. There's no right or wrong level as well, and I want to really like put that across, because I feel sometimes like, oh, they can and I can't, and I don't think that's good either, because it's just a matter of I am experiencing that and that's what's happening. And I suppose, yeah, it's like it's the word surrender is really coming up there, and it's bringing me back to something I wrote earlier when I was just tapping into what, you know, just literally writing down the line before we actually started this, and it was like primal, wild, listening, freedom equals love, and then the other words were trust, respect, and responsibility, and they kind of all just was like interesting how they just was, it was just like kind of a flowing writing moment, and I was like, yes, because when I surrender but take full responsibility, and I surrender and take full responsibility, and I surrender and take full responsibility, therefore I drop into a place where I'm safe and open. And this is something that is really beautiful, really divine, and very raw. And that's why you need to be safe, and that's why you need to be responsible. And those two things are quite hard actually to manage, and it's, you know, definitely an area very challenging to reach for people. To be safe is something like trusting in someone, but we can't really hand over our whole self, expect someone else to look after us, you know, so that's the responsibility. So there's a real fine line. And so for me, when I experience that, you know, it's kind of like being present and completely disappear at the same time. And I think there are only ways I can describe that. And I think, you know, would we call that consciousness? I'm not sure. Is it beyond consciousness? Is it, you know, yeah, there's so many words nowadays that it's like, what really is it? Because if you say it's a meditative state, it's like, well, it is, but it isn't. It's something different, you know. So yeah, I don't know if I answer that question, because it's like, it's so many things, so many things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's interesting because there is a speaker coming up on this summit, Patricia Alber, who will talk about this as well, will embellish on it around kind of that interbeingness that we are, right? So that there's more than just the physical body, right? There's the energetic body, and then what that communicates with. But I think it's really interesting coming from you, based on the experience you have as that Dakini, right, and how you experience it, because we all experience it in a different way, or some of us haven't just yet. I also want to ask you just about how important nature is for you, because I read that it is your inspiration and your driving force. which was lovely. I saw that on your website. So so tell me a little bit more about that connection.
So yeah, nature for me, like, you know, especially if I'm coming on to any interview, or I'm putting together a website or whatever I'm doing, it's like, what is the fundamentals of me? And I'm like, well, to be honest, nature has created who I am. You know, it has helped me and guided me and held me, you know, and it teaches. It's my biggest teacher, most definitely, besides animals. And like, well, they are nature. We are nature. But it's like, it's just kind of I don't, you know, it's just like everything. Like, I spend most of my day saving bugs, to be honest. You know, if I got paid to save insects, I would be pretty rich right now. Because for me, the microcosms and the earth and the chemicals, and this is like this is like a passion for me. And like, you know, I work with people to wake them up so they love the earth more. And you know that, so this is like, because I know that the earth, going back to the channeling I've experienced, where I've channeled the earth through me, that I've heard the voices and the sound and the horrors, which may sound a bit crazy, but it is an experience that, you know, that drives my work so intensely, to be like, you have to do this, you have to share with people, you have to help them know the plants and help them listen to the plants, and how to connect to their divine essence, whether it's through sexuality or dance. And it's like, So this is kind of why nature is kind of my thing always. And not everyone knows, I suppose, but if you're in nature, there's always some beautiful essence of stillness or peace um, going on, and it's always a place of savior, and it's like a church, I suppose, of some sort for certain people, and it definitely is mine, and it's a respite of many things, and I just love bringing people to the nature, and the nature is the medicine on its own, and yeah, so it's kind of like, yeah, everything about it, like nature is so sexual, and yeah, and I've had like sexual experiences with nature, and yeah, so it's just, it's just, yeah, like nature's having sex all the time, in a very beautiful way and natural and not shameful and not guilty way. I like being like nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that we can really take from her, as an example of how to be in that sexual freedom. But I love what you said about, her being our church as well. So the nature church, right? I'm gonna take that. Okay, so Macha, what if people wanted to follow up with you around your work, or just to to follow up, to contact you, how would they do that?
So I have a website. It's www.machashewolf.com, and also I'm on Facebook, and I have a few different pages, but it's Macha Shewolf Medicine Woman is my primary kind of healing work page, so do try to look for that one. Otherwise, you might find some blog pages that you might not like, because I'm a very controversial figure, I think. So, yeah, they're kind of my main resources. And I think if anyone feels connected with me, just ask me something, because I think that's I don't offer like one thing, I offer many things because I just like it this way. And I like offering, yeah, if people resonate with me, they just already trust me, I suppose, and then therefore we can go, whatever their issue or their trouble is, that's where we can go into and guide and help, and yeah, and connecting with their work, that's, yeah, connecting where they need to be is what I want to help them with. Yeah.
Yeah, cool, brilliant. Okay, well, Macha, is there any any last words that you want to share? I mean, that piece around connecting where they're at, I think that's, yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before the call, like how is that important to you? I think it's, yeah, I think it's really important myself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just remember, and I think that is the essence of humans: know everything and know nothing, and we are guided. So if you remember those guides and remember that intuition, remember, and allowing that remembering, I think that's really like the essence of living, and the nature helps us remember. Yeah, yeah, that's really beautiful. I love nature.
Yeah, I think nature is definitely being celebrated in this particular interview, and I love it. I love it. I can feel her as well coming through.
Because of course it's the ultimate today.
You're right.
And I thought of that earlier. I was like, thanks so much for. It's interesting because Bjelkene is a big sexual festival and uniting the masculine and feminine. So of course we're gonna feel.
And yeah, and of course, it's like you said before, you've had sexual experiences on the land, because so did our ancestors. That was our Beltane festival. It was the sexual, it was a sexual festival. So it's like we're remembering. We're remembering our ancient practice.
Yeah.
Okay, and Macha, have you anything coming up that you want to share? Is there any particular work that you're doing coming up that you want to let people know about? I know there's a dance happening next weekend or this weekend.
Yeah, there's yeah, so this won't actually be going
Oh
out.
yeah, no, you're right. So future.
But future, I suppose the biggest thing I'm having is I'm starting an apprenticeship in the end of the kind of coming into the winter October-ish time, and it'll be kind of actually remembering yourself, remembering the wild. And so yeah, if you're interested in that, it's going to be a kind of a conduitive thing of a few different things. Yeah, and it'll really be down to also the group and the direction it goes and stuff. And I'm really excited because people have been asking me quite a long time. So I'm like, okay, now is a good time to offer. And it's just, yeah, I'm really, yeah, just contact me instead of me trying to explain.
Perfect. Oh, that sounds very interesting. All right, well, Macha, this has been a joy, and yeah, I want to also thank the Earth for joining us. It's been a three-way conversation. So thank you so much, and thank you to the listeners. Thanks for tuning in to this summit, and thanks, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.